Hello everybody. Today's video is a little different because we're not taking a look at something per se, but we are taking a look at the things that have been lighting up the things that we've been looking at for the last several months. These are a pair of fluorescent television studio lights, and the TV station got a bunch of these. They were cast-offs from another broadcaster last year, and late last year I was allowed to bring two of these home, and they have been lighting up my YouTube videos for the past probably 9 months now. And I'm making a video of these now because I am about to do a pretty significant rearrangement of this room. I think I want to get rid of this shelf, move the TV rack over here, and then I've purchased a smaller shelf that's going to go where the TV rack is right now. All because I need to pull the TV rack out away from the wall even further than it already is, which is going to make entering and exiting the room impossible, possibly. And also I would like to have a vintage computer permanently set up on that table, put the printer on the floor. But in order to sit at this table, I've got to get rid of this and have more space so I can actually roll a chair all the way in there. I used to have a computer set up there, but then I put this shelf in, and that kind of, I forget if it was this shelf or if it was this little table here, which is also gonna go away, I think. So some rearrangements are happening, and it all means that I can't use these anymore because where this shelf is gonna be gone, there's no place to put this light, and I don't have the infrastructure obviously to hang it properly. They're just sitting on top shelves, so I'll have no place to put this light, and so I might as well give both of them back to the station. It's been a good run. I've enjoyed having them for my YouTube videos, and I'll go back to using my old halogen studio lights. I've got a couple of them. I had one in use back before I got these, and it did a great job as well. So I'll go back to that. I've got a second one of those as well. I'll buy a new bulb for it, and I'll be back to using halogen lights in addition to my fluorescent shop light for my videos, and that worked fine as well. So these are going away, so I figure we'll make a video of them. They're pretty cool, show you what they can do, and yeah, so let me take one of these down so we can get a closer look at it. Alright, so here's the back of a fixture. These were made by a company called Brightline. They still exist. And today they make this exact fixture, except it's LED now instead of fluorescent. I don't know how old these are. I think we estimated that these are around 20 years old, being fluorescent and such. And yeah, they're quite heavy. They're very durably built. It's all metal. And these are a very high-end studio light. It's got an IEC power connector. That is an electrical outlet. Why it's covered in tape, I don't know, and I don't dare find out. On-off switch. It's got an LED display, and we'll see how that functions soon. And then it's got a DMX input jack and a DMX loop through. So DMX is a digital lighting control signal used in television and theater industries. And what you do is you connect the DMX port of your lights to a DMX controller, which is a device that looks strikingly like an audio mixer. You've got faders that go up and down, but instead of audio levels, you're varying the brightness of lights. And so you basically loop DMX through all of your lights, and then on each light you use, on this particular light, it's a digital display, but it could also be dip switches to select a DMX channel. And then on your DMX mixer, either the channels are hard-coded to the faders, or you can choose which fader controls which DMX channel, and then you have full control of your lights from one board on a desk, which is very, very nice. So yeah, this is variable light output. I'm obviously not using these with a DMX controller. You can vary the brightness on the panel itself. You can see we've got these up and down buttons that you can poke with a pen. And here it gives you a little legend of the DMX channels that you select. So from 1 to 900, I assume, is the actual DMX channel from channel 1 to channel 900. But if you go to 901, it is no longer going by DMX. It just hard sets it to a specific brightness, where 901 is 1% brightness and 999 is 99% and channel 0 is 100%. So that is how that works. I've been running these set at 50%, and that turned out to be an appropriate brightness for what I'm doing here. These do get very bright. A few months ago, we did a remote production in a very large room that had an audience of, I think, like 100 or 150 people. And we used 2 of these on full brightness, and they lit up that entire, like, almost school gymnasium-sized room. We only needed half the room to be lit up, but 2 of these were enough to do the job for our purposes. So these are very, very impressive. We've got LED studio lights in the studio, far smaller, far lighter than these, far cheaper, and they do a good job. We've had them for, I think, almost 10 years, and they're all still working. And they do a good job in their variable brightness and variable color temperature, which these aren't. But we were pretty excited to get these just because of how versatile and powerful they are. So to hang these up, you can see it's got this bar and it's got this clamp on it, and what you do is have a metal track suspended from your ceiling, and these clamp on to that track. So the LED lights that we're using, they can just hook onto the track built into a standard drop ceiling. That's how we're using them. But these, you need the reinforced metal track that's suspended from the structural part of the ceiling. And you have this turn screw here, which clamps it onto the metal track, and you can slide it along the track, and you loosen these, and you can tilt the light, and obviously this spins so you can turn the light as well, so you can aim it any which way that you want. So our goal is someday, could be far off in the future, but someday it would be cool to have to install a track so we could use these either instead of or in addition to our LED studio lights, because these could be a lot more convenient. Especially with the DMX. What we're currently doing is we have a step ladder, and anytime the set changes for a show, we're running up and down ladders, adjusting lights and adjusting the brightness and color temperature and all that sort of jazz. It's funny, this power switch, this is clearly for a more basic version of this light that just has 2 light levels. So it would have had a setting 1 and a setting 2, 2 lamps or 4 lamps. This is just on off. This only has 2 lamps in it. So here's the front of the unit, and we got most of these with this honeycomb grill installed, which I think the purpose is to make the light more directional. But you can undo the thumb screw, and it slides out, and you can slide, like they probably made like a version of this without the honeycomb grill, that you could just like slide color gels into and then slide it in if you needed colored light. And you could possibly do that too. You could probably just shove gels in this track and it would probably work good enough. So with that gone, you can see we have 2 U-shaped fluorescent lamps. Now I'm not sure if these are a standard lamp size. I'm not familiar with the U-shaped compact fluorescent lamps. These could be like a standard PLC or whatever lamp. Or is this something unique to these studio lights? I don't know. But We got about a dozen of these fixtures. They all had working lamps in them, and we got a box of spare lamps too, which is great. And across the fixtures, the lamps are a mix of two different brands. Some of them have Osram lamps in them, very well-known light bulb manufacturer. And some of them had these bulbs made by a company called Kino Flow, which, first of all, is a name that I approve of. And second, Kino Flow is a very big manufacturer of light bulbs for the photography and video industry. They are light bulbs specifically designed for this purpose. They have very high color rendering. They're a 5,000 Kelvin or 5,500 Kelvin, you know, pure white light, and with basically 100% color rendering index, and they're just made for the purpose. And the Osram bulbs are too. There's one of each in this, and I actually did it that way. There's one of each brand of bulb in each of these because the Osram bulbs and the Kino Flow bulbs make starkly different colors. And you might be able to notice even right now, and actually a couple of people have commented on it in the past. In the months that I've been using these lights, I had a couple of comments from different people saying, "Hey, why do your videos look so purple?" And it's these. These produce a purplish light. It's just a consequence of the very high color rendering index. The phosphor was designed to cover as much of the visible light spectrum as possible, and that means the apparent color of the light has a little bit of purpley tone to it, especially if I turn off my crappy yellow overhead light here. So now we're just looking just at this light, and I think you'll be able to see there's quite the purpleness to it. But it's for a purpose, because skin, Caucasian skin like mine, looks very good under these lights. It looks very healthy. It brings out the red color of skin very, very well, which is important. But to be fair, when you run these at lower brightnesses, it brings out the purplish color more. Like I said, I've run these at 50% brightness. When you force them to 100%, the light is a lot more daylight colored. It's not as purpley. So running them at the lower brightness, obviously the red components of the phosphor are being excited more than the other color components. And then obviously the blue mercury discharge isn't coming through much as well. So it's just an unfortunate, you know, consequence of the fact that these are fluorescent lamps, is that the color does shift a bit when you turn the brightness down. But when you run them full tilt, it's a lot less purple. It's more of a pure white, almost daylight colored light. It's very, very good. But I kind of like the purplish color. Like I said, it brings out skin tone very well. But yeah, the Osram and Kino Flow bulbs put out quite a bit different color of light, at least when they're when the brightness is turned down. One of them is way more purpley than the other. I forget which. So I balanced it out, because I think of the two fixtures I took home, I think one of them had just Osram bulbs in it, and the other had just the Kino Flow bulbs. And actually, when we used these at that remote shoot I mentioned a few months back, I actually did the same with the fixtures there. I made sure that one of each brand of bulb was installed just for the color balance. So yeah, so bulbs, they pull out. You got to be careful, obviously, but it's not too hard to change the bulbs in these. They are 55 watt bulbs. The Kino Flow has the part number 55W/KF55 for 5500 Kelvin probably. And the Osram bulb is called a Studio Line 55 watt/5600, so 5600 Kelvin. Made in Italy. The Kino Flow, I don't know where the Kino Flow was made. Let me pull the bulb out and see. Well, it doesn't say, but you can see it has the trade name True Match on it, and there's what the bulb looks like in the hand. It's got a manufacture date 2017 on this one. And yeah, it's a 4-pin base, electronic ballast in these, obviously, with the dimming capabilities. So I'll reinstall this lamp, and we'll plug this thing in, and I'll run you through the brightness variations so you can see what that looks like. Alright, so we'll turn this on, and you'll see that these appear to have a program start. They preheat the cathodes before it applies voltage to the bulbs, which is very good, of course. And this is 1% brightness, so you can probably see, tell, not very bright. And actually, because the bulbs are cool, it's funny, it's not visible to the naked eye, but you can see in the camera this bulb, actually both of them are actually striating a little bit, although it's not visible to the naked eye. But yeah, very nice, flicker-free, high-frequency electronic ballast. And yeah, I think you can tell on camera, the KinoFlow bulb retains its kind of daylight color, even at minimum brightness, but the Osram bulb at 1% brightness, it's very very purpley pink, basically like a grow light bulb, which is another form of full spectrum fluorescent light bulb. So yeah, you can see the mercury discharge in that little junction there. So yeah, this is 1% brightness. I'll crank it up to 100 for you. I will, so you can see the LED display. It's currently set to 901. And I'm going to turn it to 0. It'll loop around after 999. 6, 7, 8, 9. There. Back to 0. That's 100%. And oh man, that is an assault on the senses. But yeah, at 100%, the Osram bulb shifts way more towards the daylight side of things, although it is visibly more warmer in color than the KinoFlow, even though they're both supposed to be 55 or 5600 Kelvin bulbs. But yeah, I think if we look over here, you can see just how brightly everything is lit up. These are powerful. 2 55-watt bulbs, 110 fluorescent watts. What's the equivalent in incandescent watts? 110. This is probably at least 500 incandescent watts. With remarkably good color. And you can feel the heat coming off it. That's for sure. So yeah, you can take the egg crate screen off and make it sort of flood a wider area with light. But in the studio industry, you usually want things to be directional, at least a little bit. So I will put my honeycomb, egg crate, whatever thing back in. And there's actually two, you can see there's 2 tracks here, so you can put a slide in that has like a color gel or a neutral density gel or something, and then in the second track put the honeycomb grill or something else in. There, and the light just became a lot more directional that way. Actually, it tones down on the bright, you know what? It tones down on the brightness remarkably. It does make it more directional, but it also really tones down the brightness. So I didn't realize it cut down the brightness so much. That's actually useful for me to know. But yeah, there it is. And that's the story on the Brightline fluorescent studio lights. These are pretty cool. They've done a great job lighting up my videos, and I am going to miss having them here, but it's time for them to go. I'm glad that I've been able to borrow them, and honestly, my halogen studio lights that I was using before, they're way more versatile to deal with. I can hang them from my ceiling. They don't use much more power than these were using. These are way more light than I need in here. I was only running these at 50%. The halogen lights probably provide a more natural looking color based on the couple of comments I've gotten in the past from people asking why things look purple. So yeah, I'm a little sad for these to go, but you know, happy that I'll have a bit more versatility back with my halogen lights. So I will pack these in the car, bring them back to the station. Thank you very much for watching. I do hope you enjoyed. A big thank you to my Patreon supporters as well. And I will see you in the next video.